There's nowhere to start, really. It will all seem wrong. It's just really complicated to pick a starting point and say, right, that's where it all began. I can't start anywhere because they are everywhere, on the tip of my tongue and my toes. I tried an iteration just now. I thought it could have a fanciful feel, but I don't know, it wasn't too successful.
Et donc vous faites quoi là en fait?
Vraiment un connard. So I could definitely not start with childhood and how grand that was, because it all happened way before that. If you think about it, it started long ago, and probably even before my dad met my mom in this club, and before the parents met. Yeah, I'm not too sure where. But then it would be so complicated to explain, because I would have to go through generations of love stories and babies and wars and cities, maybe villages, and how it came to be me, my brother, and my sister. It would probably be a bit tedious too. And I might as well write a book about all this. About the great-great-granddad who lived in Syria, and all these distant relationships that they make you look up as though you're carefully thinking and go silent and say, wait, your grandma's aunt who married the Australian dude. Yeah, okay, right. So I could probably start with their names, but I'm not convinced it would get the point across either. Because they could have been called something completely different. I mean, I often call them something like really different myself. Although it kind of all makes sense, because our names were like systematic names. That's really a sophisticated way to say they rhyme with our family name. I can start with a number, since it all must start somewhere. 5, parents and children, 5 altogether. And 3 if you only count as the children. They would always be my lucky numbers, like when I played the Euro Million lottery with my mom and my grandmother, and Delphine too sometimes. She was the woman who took care of the horses, and the chickens too, but we have no chickens anymore. And some things in the house, even though she was really more efficient, like outside than inside. I never understood why she kept working in the house, because she clearly didn't like it. Otherwise, she wouldn't systematically put back in the cupboard the dirty laundry. But I failed to understand this logic, because it's really disgusting. And then putting something in the wash, probably takes 5 minutes tops. Maybe she didn't like the ironing, I don't know. Yesterday my sister was reading this and she pointed out that I probably could have done the washing by myself, but it's too late now. 5 and 3, they were the lucky numbers, and then most things had to be 3 and 5. I don't have an example, but you probably know what I mean by that. It all came down to protecting them. Even though Normandy was never a dangerous place, really. I mean, in comparison to other places. I mean, horses can inflict tetanus, and my grandmother was not too keen on vaccines, but I would imagine the probability is really low. I personally never met anyone who had tetanus. It doesn't seem to be that common anymore. The protection business was a real concern. That really we should be together at all times. I mean, how horrible would that be if one of us was on its own somewhere, far or not far, and then everyone died in the meantime? That's basic compassion when you break it down. You don't leave someone behind. Above all, when you love each other so much that it makes you worry most of the time. And I remember I could not bear the idea of a meteorite hitting the planet. But now I can't think why. That would have been a great scenario, because really I thought it would have been better if we died all at the same time. And now we're physically apart a lot of the time, and in complete honesty we've gone from 5 to 4. Even though that's not nice of me to write, but it really feels like 4. And it's fairly improbable that we would all die, I don't know, say a birthday dinner or Christmas, but then you never know. If I was a terrorist, I wouldn't pick my birthday, but maybe I'd pick Christmas. I'd probably pick Christmas, but then I'm no terrorist either. They are everywhere and they are everything, all the time, and since forever, and probably forevermore. I mean, though sometimes I wish they wouldn't. I read the story of a kid with no family when I was a kid. Now I always say that. I always say I read something violent. I only heard of it, and in this case I saw the cover too. It was a crappy picture. like from a bad TV series. And that was probably what it was too. And the guy's beard, like, on it was obviously fake. The kid was called Remy, and he didn't have a family. The title sounded funny in French because it rhymed. We like stuff that rhyme, as I said before. And I thought in a horrible way and really selfish that in theory it must be quite nice, really. I mean, if it's not real, because you think for 1 and not for 5 all the time. And I say 5, but with my grandparents it's 7 really, and then 8 with Caroline. 7 because my dad feels like something you could add in the equation, but I'm not sure it'd be part of the total. I don't know. If I do something that could be dangerous or reckless, I would always have this cringe feeling that I was involving them all. That maybe because they're in there all the time, like in my mind and whatnot.